So, all right, so we're going to kick off this huddle session. So I want to thank Tarek Kamil and Christine Fisher for joining us. And this is, Ready, Set, Launch, founder stories from the trenches. And so again, we've got Tarek and Christine here to, I kind of set the stage. I'd like to, have this be an open session, interactive session. Christine and Tarek and Paul and myself, we talked about that, kind of make it for you guys, questions, open forum type of session that we've got going here. And thanks everyone for joining us. Before we jump into things, I just wanted to get a chance for Tarek to introduce himself and give kind of his backstory and background, and so I'll have Tarek do that, and then I'll have Christine do that as well, just give her story, her background, before we jump into some questions here, just so we kind of set the table, kind of level set things, and kind of where Tarek and Christine are coming from. So I'll turn it over to Tarek, if you want to go ahead real quick and just kind of give an intro.
Well, I appreciate that, but being the gentleman that I try to be, I'm going to let Christine go first.
Okay, great.
Is it a gentleman, or you're buying yourself more time to think and process?
Both could be true, Christine. They could both be true.
But I will be happy to go first. So I'm Christine Fisher. I'm the co-founder and COO of a company called Possip. And we help schools better hear from their stakeholder groups, primarily their families, but more recently their students and their staff as well. And we do that through a couple of ways, but mainly through SMS surveys that we send out on a regular basis, as frequently as weekly. Most customers are every other week. And right now we hear from about 500,000 parents across the country. And we have been in existence for 5 years, but really, growing and scaling for the last 3. I worked at Procter & Gamble in finance and strategy jobs for about 15 years before making this leap into the startup world. So have kind of that big business background. And now the experience over the last 3 years of scaling and growing Possip. I'm more on the internal side, so help to oversee our tech, our operations, our finance, kind of the day-to-day business operations. And then my co-founder and the CEO, she manages more of the sales, fundraising, marketing, external side of the business. So give you a little bit of background on where my expertise more lies. We crossed $1 million in ARR a couple months ago in the fall, and just seen pretty rapid growth. So in 2020, we grew 5x our 2019. We doubled on top of that last year, and we're set to grow about 3.5 times we were the size last year. I am a mom of 2 kids. They're in elementary school, so I am not only the co-founder of Possip, but I'm also a Possip parent, that I receive the text messages and the surveys from my kids' schools, so I get to see kind of that side of it live. And actively involved in the Cincinnati community in terms of kind of the parent and education space. So I sit on the audit committee for Cincinnati Public Schools, the Beach Acres Parenting Center Board, and the Preschool Promise Board. So kind of all of that context really helps to inform what I do day to day to help grow the business. We've got a team of about 15 people. We're fully remote and dispersed. So I've got employees who join me every morning for our team huddles that come from Texas, Atlanta, Nashville, New Jersey, and here in Cincinnati. That's a little bit about me. I'm very excited to just kind of take your questions and see how I can be of help today.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Christine. Appreciate it. So, Tarek, turn it over to you.
Well, I think that's a good introduction from Christine, because we are good puzzle pieces. I'm terrible at finance and accounting and anything around process. That's not me. I'm not good at any of that. I'm not a detail person. So I'm the CEO of Cerkl. We are located in Blue Ash. We're about 52 people right now. And we've been in business really, I I guess, starting 2014. So I guess this is year 8. It was never intended to be a business. Also started in the education space. This was built originally for Madeira City schools. So how can we get people more engaged with what's going on in the school district? So it started off as a pet project of mine, kind of nights and weekends. My background is technical, so I like to build things, even though I'm not that good at it. But that kind of turned into what we are today, probably around 2018, where St. Elizabeth came to us and said, can we use this technology to communicate with our employees? And I think as an entrepreneur, you get a good sense of product market fit. You know, when you put something in front of someone and they really respond to it, it resonates with them, you can feel it. And that was the feeling I had when we started to get in front of internal communicators. And so I really focused the business on that around 2018. And then everybody knows what happened in 2020 with COVID. That was huge for us. It was a huge tailwind. Every company's rethinking about how do we communicate and engage people if I don't see you every day, if we're working hybrid or remote. It's totally changed the game. And then you combine that with the Great Resignation. So they're all thinking about how do we retain talent. So for us, I can't really think of a single thing that would have been more impactful in a positive way than COVID. Survivor's guilt saying it, but I can't control a global pandemic. We just happen to be right place, right time. So let's see, the things I like to talk about are kind of strategy, vision, culture is really important. How does that impact your company and where you're going? Raising money, have some experience there if that's top of mind for you. Exiting, I've done that a couple of times. What's that look like, feel like? Let's see, what else? Kind of order of operations. When do you start hiring salespeople? When do you think about marketing? I don't know. I can talk about lots of different things. So hopefully this is a good use of your time. And Christine and I talked, I guess, whenever we met, this was a couple of weeks ago, and we really wanted to just open it up and see if we could think about your issues. So as opposed to kind of speaking high level and generically, to really focused on what are you dealing with, and hopefully 2 different sets of eyes will help you kind of think through maybe some different options. So that's me high level.
Yeah. No, thank you for that, Tarek. Emmanuel, Olivier, Chris, you guys have any questions before? I've got a few questions that I was going to throw out there to Tarek and Christine, but feel free, Emmanuel, Olivier, Chris Passetti, you guys have anything?
Yeah, I have a question. I have a question for Tarek. I have a question, which is, I remember, I mean, I guess, you were talking about your project being a side project. I remember when you came to a soccer practice and you said you were working on it at Dawson. But anyway, I have a question for you. A few years ago, I was looking at your website, and I remember there was like a pricing page, and there were the different prices. And now I went back to your website, and there's no pricing. And I mean, basically, I'm in the process of launching a SaaS, and I was wanting to know your insights about the pricing when you're trying to get your first 10 customers.
First 10 customer, I think, is do whatever it takes. Even if you have to give it away, who cares? Value there is not revenue, it's logos, it is giving future customers confidence. The story I always like to share is in a prior business, a sports analytics business that I'd started, we were reached out to by Major League Baseball. So Major League Baseball came to me and said, hey, we want to work with you. And so we ended up doing a deal with them, but it wasn't a great deal. It was kind of broke even. The power of that deal was the MLB logo. that that was my customer and that we were doing joint promotions between Major League Baseball, this teeny tiny company in Cincinnati, and USA Today. That was huge. And so once we had MLB signed up as a customer, the NHL, the NBA, ESPN, Yahoo, everybody else just followed because they say, oh, Major League Baseball has already vetted them. So I think there's very different questions you should be asking. If it's first 10 customers, you give it away. Do whatever it takes to get them in the door. Clearly, you don't want to give it away, but if you have to, then say, hey, I just want you to pilot this. Can we use your logo, case study, testimonial? And I won't charge you. And having that will help you get other customers. It's like catching a small fish to catch a bigger fish. It's the same model. So if you're really asking about how do I get my first 10 customers and think about pricing, I was like, I don't think you have enough information to know that. That's what the first 10 customers are for. If it's after that and you're asking, hey, why did you change your pricing page? I'm happy to talk about the psychology of that too. So I want to make sure that I'm answering your question. And Christine, if you've got some additional thoughts there, feel free to jump in, or anybody else too.
Yeah.
So I'm interested, like you said, in the second step, which is the pricing page.
So what happened was when we started to focus on internal communication, then it basically shifted away from we're trying to do everything for everybody to this is my customer. And it made life a lot easier. But it's scary as an entrepreneur to say, I don't want to sell this certain segments anymore. It's scary, kind of turning that food away. But that was the decision that we made. When we did that, we could get very focused on language, marketing, pricing, everything. And so if you go to our pricing page, there is a pricing page up there now. At least it should be up there. If it's not, that's a huge issue. But there should be a pricing page. And when you go there, there are 3 plans. There is a kind of a base level plan, and there is a price. And it says starts at a certain number. So we start kind of the minimum is $6,000 a year. So we won't sell or talk to anybody and I want that to be out there. I don't want my salespeople dealing with people that have a budget of $500 a year. I want it to be a filter to say, hey, you know your number. If your number isn't at least $6,000, don't even contact us. It's not worth your time, not worth our time. So that was intentional. Then everything else after that is contact us for pricing, because it is very specific to their needs, and we're dealing with big business and enterprise and what systems they have. But we did make the intentional decision of putting up a number so we could start to filter out people that fall below our threshold.
I think so much of it depends on what your business is. If you're like a pure software as service and you're selling more to individuals, or you're selling, small transactions that you want to do a lot of, then it makes a ton of sense to put those out. If you're talking like $10,000 and up contracts, people want to have a conversation about that. They're not just going to be like clicking subscribe on something and getting like a monthly recurring fee that's $10,000 and up. So I think that, if you're talking a business that's $5 a month, just have that up there. You're not having salespeople dedicated to closing those deals. That's kind of how we've thought about it when we were in our early days, really selling more directly to schools, and they were smaller transaction sizes. We've thought more of the model of like, people should just be able to sign up for this on our website and then be able to go through onboarding. We're now doing more enterprise contracts, as kind of Tarek mentioned as well, where your sales cycle is a relationship. And so getting that pricing to them too early in that process, we found isn't super helpful for closing the deals.
Okay, thanks.
Olivia, what's the average contract value that you are selling your service for?
Well, I mean, ideally there's a whole range. So I mean, right now right now, as to Christine's point, I mean, right now people can come and they can click for $500 a year. And then we have some proposals out that, like you said, I mean, we ended up talking with people, and you know, the proposals we have are between $2,500 and $4,500 a year. And so the challenge is, how can I say that? The challenge is that, you know, we want to try and charge people for the value that we're bringing. But we also want to, I mean, there's a whole range of customers that could use our system. And so that's to me, that's the challenge, is to have, you know, is to have a pricing page that kind of addresses all this wide range of folks. Although, like you said, I mean, we're getting to the point where we're maybe focusing on the price segment that would be, you know, that would kind of weed out the $500 a year. But right now we're still looking for that.
Yeah, I think just me, again, I don't know what you're selling, but you know, if I got there and I see the value of what you're doing, and I see it's $49 a month. Yeah, you don't need to talk to anyone. You will lose money if they have to call you. I mean, it's too expensive to have someone in the middle of that. So at $49 a month, people just swipe a credit card. They don't even think about it anymore. And then for you, because even on the high end, you're still talking $4,500 a year. It feels like that would be, get as many people signing up at $49 a month, and then upsell them as they start to access different features, or I need more licenses. I don't know what your business is, but that's when you potentially could have a person, but then their time is very strategic, right? The system should be telling me who is asking about these other features. And I can proactively reach out and say, hi, I'm Bob with whatever. Let me walk you through these and see if they can get them to upgrade from $49 a month to whatever it is a month. But yeah, I agree with Christine. At that price point, I would absolutely make it as easy as possible. Don't hide anything, super transparent with your pricing.
Okay.
Great question.
All right, Emmanuel, Chris, Olivia, anything else before? I was going to jump in with a question, but I want this to be for you guys. So hop in.
Just FYI, for me, it's more informative than questioning, because I'm in very different segment. I'm selling water treatment equipment for industries and businesses. So it's more of trying to have an incentive about how play in this overcrowded virtual communication environment, and to have a feel about your experience. But I don't have specific needs, because our relationship is really direct. It's a very tech sale, so it's we still try to find the best channel for that, and it's not mass communication. It's the reverse of mass communication. Mass communication will be counterproductive.
Are you primarily selling to like government contracts and agencies or businesses?
Right now, we are extremely focused on recirculating aquaculture systems, because there is no legal obligation and there is no government involved in your process. The minute we start working with government agencies and so on, I mean, we know that we have to have $3 to $5 million in front of us just for the certification process.
How are you finding customers today?
We are by default in some engineering firms design. So when they offer our equipment in their design, and if their business goes through, we sell the equipment to the final customer. The engineering firm offer our equipment because they saw the add value by offering our equipment. And so that's 80% of our customers base. And let's say 20% is just by meeting customers at conventions. And last 2 years were pretty hard on this. But we were at a convention in San Diego last week, and I came back with 17 leads. I don't say 17 opportunities, but 17 leads. Out of these 17 leads, if we have 5, 6 opportunities, that's great. And on those 5, 6, if we have 2 or 3 contracts, that's enormous. Our smallest contract is $100,000, or biggest is $6 million. So it's if you get just one small, it pays for the trip.
Yeah.
Would you say that? Go ahead.
It sounds like with that 80%, the other places like co-selling of similar products or products in the same space, but that aren't direct competitors to you. So is it possible to kind of partner with some people who would be installing systems at the same point in time that you would be asking to install yours? I could see that being a model. And then the other place is like, yeah, you're not going to just have people coming to your website to sign up, but I would think some work on SEO that, you know, this is something people might search for a solution on, and some work optimizing that could be a benefit.
This is what we are trying to do for the past now 10 years. And it was relatively unsuccessful. And I asked myself, why was it so? And then I had the answer 3 weeks ago. It's one of the engineering firm who actually contacted us and said, oh, you're still here after 10 years. This is what we're looking for, because younger companies don't play in these industrial segments until they reach that 10 years existence. It's like, it builds confidence. You're still here, you're gonna stay, they're gonna adopt your technology. And like, oh, okay, I'd seen that a door just opened, we didn't know it was even closed.
Do you have someone thinking about marketing?
We have people thinking. Yeah, we have some people thinking about marketing. We did some marketing effort, but the last 2 years were more on survival mode. So you know, everything costs, and when you're on survival mode, you just cut off what's not necessary. We're off that mode with some contracts, including a decent one in New Zealand. And so now we can think again about development, marketing, and so on.
Yeah, it feels like, based on what you just said, that I really wouldn't need a marketer as much as I would need a channel partner. So who is leading channel partnerships? Who is reaching out to these engineering firms that already have clients and customers? And if you can piggyback off of their work and they trust you and you're the go-to when this comes up, it feels like you just want more of those relationships. It's like planting more seeds, and then whenever the wheat is ready to be harvested, varies based on all kinds of factors. But that's based on what you're selling and the price point, and that you already have a channel that's producing results. Feels like I would focus more of my attention there to grow the business.
This is exactly what we're trying to do. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to Hilton Head. There is a convention. I'm one of the speakers. Actually, I'm speakers in 2 presentations, and everyone in the industry is going to be there, and it's exactly focused on our laser focused segment. So we're getting ready for that. I still need to learn how to speak English.
Just don't add at the end of every sentence. You'll be fine.
Okay.
So kind of tacking onto that, like Christine and Tarek, I'd love to know, like, so I don't think any of our guests right now have like dedicated sales teams. I'd love to know your approach and like when is that right time to have, like a dedicated salesperson, like a feet on the street individual to, to drive that. Is there an ideal time, or what's been your experience with that in terms of the sales, salesperson?
And I think so much of it does depend on the business model of
Yeah.
and the sales cycle of the particular, companies. For us, it was very important for us that we had somebody pay for our product early on. There's so much in the school space that's the freebie, like where, let's just get eyeballs, and then they can never transition into an actual business. And we wanted to know that people had a value on what we were offering, that they were willing to pay for it. But we were primarily, I would say, founder sold. We had some part-time people who had networks in schools who were kind of selling to their networks as well, early days, so that like it was pretty low cost for us to have that. And then once we started to say like, we actually need to sell this to someone we don't know, that was when we said we probably need to start bringing on some people with some sales experience. And that was kind of our next proof point. Like, it's one thing to be able to sell to a friend. And we, as a founding team and the part-time people we brought on had deep relationships in schools. But if you're really going to scale, you need to move past, especially in our business, the relationship side. And so that was the moment in time that we said we need to bring some salespeople on. And then we're just getting to the point of hiring like a real revenue leader. And so before that, it's been more our CEO kind of leading that process, coaching the team, setting direction. And we're now realizing, she doesn't have the experience of having brought a company from 1 million to 10 to 15 million. And so we're trying to bring that experience to our team just now.
Okay. Cool. And so how is that? How's that structured, or how will that be structured? Is it going to be like straight commission with that individual, or is it salary plus commission, or have you figured that out yet?
Yeah, so the people who are doing our like actual outside sales right now are a blend, about 50-50, 50 base salary, 50% of their like total all-in salary comes from commission.
Okay.
And then as we're hiring the more senior person, that ratio is going to be a bit different because their job is less to be like actually carrying a bag. They'll get a commission on all sales, is the model that we've sort of been coached into. So that it'll be probably more 2/3 base, 1/3 commission.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we have sort of more sales development people who are like sourcing the leads, doing the research, getting to the meeting, and they're more base and a little bit of commission.
Okay.
But I don't know that we have it figured out. And I think each business model is different. So I'd be interested in kind of hearing how Cerkl handles it as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great topic. I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't ask the question, do I need a salesperson? Like, listening to Olivier, I would say, no, you don't need one based on your price point. You could get one later that's more upselling. So a lot of people call them account managers, and it's really about internal selling, upselling. And I would say Emmanuel definitely does not need one. He needs someone that's focused on different things, which is partner channel development, which is not sales. It's very different. It's more relationship. And then I had a friend of mine call me yesterday. He's got a SaaS platform, and he wants to ask that exact question. Hey, what do I need to know? Because I'm getting ready to hire my first salesperson. And so I started asking him lots of questions. And there's so much he can still do within the platform to automate what he was going to have a human do. And you want to go as far as you can with your software first. So if the software can take a credit card and onboard you, great, that's less humans I need. Not that I have anything against humans, but in general, before you are ready to scale, you want your foundation to be solid. You want to go as far as you can. So by the end of our conversation yesterday, he was totally realigned in that, wow, I could redirect this money. I can build it into the platform. I can scale all of that. And really, when I can't squeeze any more juice out of it, then I will know exactly when I need to hire, what skill set they'll need, because he doesn't know that today. So that would be the next thing is, if you start to think you need one, have you maxed out what your technology can do? So I would always invest in there first. And once you feel like that's really solid, it's very efficient, now we need sales people for other things, like gathering people that aren't in our system or upselling or whatever. That makes total sense. Internally, what we have done is we've taken the approach of, and I think this is the engineer in me, the idea is you're going to fill a bucket with water. What a lot of people do is they start selling and marketing early. The product's not great. The experience when you become a customer is pretty terrible. And so they have a lot of holes in their bucket. It's completely inefficient that you're turning on the water, and a lot of these customers just churn because the product's really not good yet. And your customer experience, onboarding, how you treat them, that's not good either. It's very inefficient. So we took the approach of, we're going to invest heavily in people, in culture, product, customer experience. And that's exactly what we've done. Our renewal rate is 99.1%. It's crazy, crazy high. When we get them, we have them for a long time. The last thing I'm doing is sales and marketing. So every other part of the business functioning, it's firing. And then we just hired someone to take over sales because I was running it. He started February 1st. He came to us from Salesforce. So he's kind of really building it out. And then I'm hiring someone to take over marketing now because I'm still running it. And I can tell you, any business in which I'm running any part of it is probably in trouble. So the more things I cannot touch, the better chance we have for success. So that's how we've thought about it, is solid bucket first, then turn the water on. But it's going to vary. You know, your investors may have different demands of you. If you have a board, they might think very differently than you. And that kind of leaks into a conversation around raising money and aligning on your investors. But that's how I thought about sales and marketing for our business. But we're an enterprise business, and our average contract value is probably $160,000 a year. So we need humans. We can't do much in a swipe your credit card way.
I think so much of that, again, comes down to kind of what type of business you're in and what segment are you targeting. Reputation is hugely important in the school industry, right? If we were bringing people on and couldn't serve their needs with a bad product, like there's just not enough schools and districts out there for us to burn through a number of people while we learn. If you're selling something to the masses, I think you can learn as you go, right? Because that churn doesn't matter as much because there's, 300 million people in the US and you might have like a bigger industry. I would think, Emmanuel's business would be certainly very based on reputation, and you would want to make sure that that product is excellent before you're going forward.
Awesome. Thanks for the insight there into the sales and marketing. angles and how to attack that. So I'm fascinated with, and I hate to go there or go here, but and I guess this is more for Christine and Tarek, feel free to jump in, but like education and schools being shut down, how did you guys like deal with that? I mean, was there a larger need for your solution once COVID hit, or I'd love to know, how you guys handled that, when COVID hit, and what the environment was like, in terms of needing your solution. I'd love to understand that. So
Yeah, I mean, first it was panic.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
our panic hit a couple weeks before, actually, because our founder is based in Nashville, and so a big portion of our customers are there. And March 2nd, 2020, a tornado hit Nashville. And so we were faced very rapidly with a situation where we were like, we can't be operating in our normal mode. Our normal mode is to ask parents if they were happy. And we said, these people just had a tornado hit their community. We can't send a survey out today saying, are you happy? And so we pivoted very quickly to say, are there any needs that the school can help you with right now? Are your needs being met? And so we were able to change very quickly into surfacing needs for families that the schools could help address. So we were sending them reports of, here are families who said, they need shelter. Here are families who need food. Here are ones who need, various items. So that helped to prepare us, but we were kind of in this panic mode from the beginning of March 2020. And we were saying, all right, what's going to come now with schools shutting down? So the immediate was like, how do we serve our current customers? From there, it did say, how can we make this then into an opportunity for us? And we've been asked this question a lot, in particular in like fundraising discussions: was COVID a tailwind or a headwind for us? And I think we were saying that it was mostly a tailwind because, we grew 5x in 2020. There was certainly more of an urgent need for something to reach out to families in that time where they weren't, again, physically coming into schools. Parents became much more of a part of the education process with schools happening at home. And so schools kind of woke up and said, yeah, we actually need to contact and be in touch with parents. There was also a lot of federal funding, and still a fair bit of extra federal funding for schools that's been a help. The downside, though, is that we've started to realize the conferences and networking is a big part of it. And in this industry, relationships matter a lot. Word of mouth matters a lot. And with 2 years of almost no in-person events and conferences, I think that was really a headwind for us. We've attended 2 conferences in the last month, and similarly, huge amount of lead generations for us. So that part made it a lot more challenging.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, guys. Sorry, I need to go. I didn't attend to.
Well, thanks
All
for your
right.
questions, Emmanuel.
Hey,
Really
thanks,
nice
Emmanuel.
meeting you.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for being present. Tarek, we call. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Emmanuel.
Bye.
All right.
Au revoir. I have a question, which is, do you guys use any reseller, or, do you have any, I guess reseller or different channels?
We are just starting to explore that. So our space is all around selling into companies and who is doing the communication to the employees within that company. There's a lot of consultants that work with them. So we're really just spinning up kind of our first partnership framework of what that would look like. How do we pay them? What's in it for them? What's in it for us? How do we both win? So we're literally in the process of putting that together now.
Okay.
We're exploring 2 things. One, in a Texas contract, the school district wanted to start using us very rapidly, but their vendor and approvals that they need to go through to start using us would be just too long. And so they're going through a third party that they have an established relationship with that will sell to them, who will sell to them. The first time we've done it. And then we're exploring right now more outsourcing of our lead generation, so that research that we have some people doing right now of trying to source deals. There's some companies out there that do that work of, identifying decision makers in schools, getting their contact information, doing all of that side. So we're just starting to explore there.
Have you guys looked at, I don't know how you call them, but I would call them like professional organization. I mean, like, I don't know, like the Association of School Districts or stuff like that. I mean,
and that's kind of the conferences we go to. Like we went to the Texas Association of School Leaders, and finding out the ones that are the most appropriate is what's kind of challenging. So for a while we were targeting the communication leaders in schools, and we've realized that that's not really the best fit. They're often not the sole decision makers, and we don't get the best implementation if we sold to them. And so we're now shifting more to the academic side and looking at academic leaders. So I don't know if that's pertinent to anybody's business, but trying to identify who the best decision makers are in enterprise sales is something that can be challenging. It sounds like, Tarek, you've done sort of similar of it's the communication leaders in these companies that are really your decision makers.
Yes. I will say kind of high level, one of the things that I figured out, and again, I like to disclaim everything with, I'm not very smart, but this actually worked. So I had a guy running marketing, and he was kind of doing the usual marketing stuff, like branding and colors. I'm like, that's all bullshit. I don't care about any of that. Well, it doesn't really matter. Like, can you get people to click on a button that says, I want to see your product? That is the only thing I care about. So I kind of jumped in and I said, all right, from a psychology perspective, what is really going on here is that you've got, at least for us, and I think this would apply to everybody, for new customers, you've got 3 segments of new potential people in your universe. You've got the bottom of the funnel, which is the most valuable segment, and they are people that have already felt pain and they are looking for a solution to their pain. They are shopping. And I said, we're small. I'm not Budweiser. I don't give a shit about billboards or brands. No one, it's a waste of money. You have to be super hyper focused. Everything should be focused on one thing. And for us, it was, hey, these people are about to make a decision. Why are we not part of that conversation? Or they're looking at vendors. Why are we not there? If we're there, I like our chances to win. So I just kind of scrapped everything that we were doing, and it was the usual marketing stuff, which was completely ineffective. We were too small to do what P&G is doing and have all these marketing people. We're only going to go after people that have already felt pain and are shopping for a solution. That's all I care about. So I thought, how do you know who is shopping? Well, for us, it's easy. I know who our competitors are, and I can go to Google and I can buy ads. So when someone types in competitor pricing, competitor customers, competitor testimonials, the first thing they're going to see is an ad for us versus the competitor. So if it was Acme, so someone goes in and said, and they've heard of Acme, and Acme's spending a lot on brand awareness. Thank you, Acme, because I'm just going to jump to the front of the line. You spent all your money to get people to know who you are, and now they're Googling or on Bing. Some people do use Bing, and they type in Acme pricing. The first thing they're going to see is Acme versus Cerkl head-to-head comparison, the very first ad. And it is not trying to sell them in the moment, we're better. That is not the goal. The goal is, I just want to hold your hand one more step. And that one more step is click on the ad, and then you're taken to a landing page that is us versus them. Side by side, and that's the only thing on the page. It is not intended to sway you. It is intended to be honest. If they are better than us in an area, then we say they're better than us in this area. This is totally honest. Because it is not the goal to sell them there. For what we're selling, I need you to talk to someone. The only thing we're trying to do is plant the seed. Hey, this is interesting. I've never heard of them. I want to talk to them because I'm about to make a big decision. And that's the first thing we say at the top of the page. You're about to make a big decision. Make sure you have all the facts. That's it. So it's counter to what every marketer would ever tell you. They all want to sell everything right away. Everything's amazing copy and like bullshit. For what we're trying to do, that will not work. No one is going to see an ad and want to spend 150 grand a year. That is not how it works. So for us, it's very different. So we've been very, very focused on what signals show us someone is looking to make a purchase. That's all I care about. We turned that on probably 18 months ago, and we cannot keep up with demand. And that's all we do. I don't even look at the ads anymore. It's just let them run. So we did that. They also run on Bing, and then we're on G2 because that's like, it feels like you have to be there. But those people are shopping. And so that's where we've been super focused. The next level up would be, all right, who's in pain but hasn't started shopping yet, right? They're also exhibiting signals. They haven't started shopping for a solution, but now you're 2 steps away. I've got to convince you that your pain is real and that there is a solution and we're the right solution. So that's further away up the food chain. And then the last level up on the pyramid, the inverted pyramid, the funnel, is everyone else. Everyone else, they don't even know they're in pain. I don't give a shit about them. They're so far away from buying my product. I can't even justify trying to get in front of them. Because now you got to get in front of them, get their attention. Then you got to convince them they have pain. Then you got to convince them we're the right solution. It's so far away. So we have been hyper-focused on the very bottom of the funnel, and it has been unbelievable. But we've been like, it's laser focused. That's all I care about.
It's great advice.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Good stuff. Olivier, Chris, James.
I was just saying, I love the idea of tackling it, not like you're trying to force yourself into somebody else's reality, but give them a perspective outside of their own, show them the facts, and then let them welcome you into their own reality. Because I feel like you're trying to like force things into people's faces. You're gonna get a lot of backlash, or they're just gonna discredit you right off the bat. But the way that you look at it, the psychological take that you have is like very spot on. I like that.
I think, I just think about this like from an empathy perspective. How do you want to be treated? And for me, of course, I expect La Rosa's to say they have the best pizza in town. It's La Rosa's. You have to say this. And so it doesn't carry any weight, 0. Now, if Olivier comes to me and says, hey, have you tried La Rosa's? It's amazing. Or have you seen this new movie? Have you seen this new show? If it comes from someone else, now it sounds legit, right? That carries so much more weight. So we tried to take the approach of, we don't want to be biased. And that is not the goal. The goal is just to say, will you consider us? Great. That's all I want, which is so counter. I mean, marketers don't, like, they normally don't understand what I'm saying to them because they feel like the whole goal is to convince you as fast as possible. That's not how humans work. It needs some time, and they need to trust you, especially for what we sell. I mean, I love Christine's point that all of this should be couched with your own business model. If you're selling something that's $19 a month, you don't really need to build up that level of trust. What's the worst case scenario? I'm out $19.
And I think, part of what we've learned too, and it's hard, I would say, especially for some of our customer experience team, is that we are not going to be everything to everyone. And when we've tried to be, when we tried to say like, oh yeah, our tool can be used for that too. We can solve that problem, when it's not the problem that we are designed to solve. That's when we've typically not had great success, or it causes a whole lot of pain between our product and tech team and our sales and customer team. And so just coming to realize, like, we will often refer one of our pseudo competitors and say, I think for this, you really should be looking at Panorama. They're going to be able to better meet that need. And I think, to Tarek's point too, they're not used to that. They're not used to people being transparent and like sending them to a competitor. But it's not in our best interest to try to do something that we're not designed to do. And so we try to tell the story of why we can be complementary and why they should also be doing what we do. But if they're not interested, then we often say, you should be looking here.
All right. So yeah, we've got about five more minutes. So Olivier, Chris, James, you guys have anything? I was going to throw a question out there, but I want to give you guys the floor here first. So.
Well, I had a kind of a question or a comment for Tarek, which is, based on what you mentioned earlier about, the product and launching. And I mean, to me, what you said is kind of like the opposite of, all these people that talk about the minimum viable product. So what's your take on that, on thinking about, your approach versus the people who always say, well, you really need the minimum viable product?
Yeah, I love the MVP model. I think you can do both, I guess, is the point. You should never wait for something to be perfect. You're going to be out of business. So that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I'm a product person. I love it. I think, I'm a people person first, but product would be second. And so what I'm saying is, before you try to build out a sales team and a marketing team, but focus on the product, listen to your customers, have that feedback loop. So you're refining it quickly, you're making changes, you're seeing opportunities, because until you really get into a flow where people love it, you can't possibly market yourself, because things are going to change. It's like, oh, we missed this whole piece of functionality that we've heard from our few customers that they need. And if we build this, they will love it. That will impact marketing and sales. And so if you start to build a marketing and sales engine while you're also building the plane, that's where I see a lot of people run into problems. And it's expensive to have a sales and marketing team, especially inside. So it's more just allocation of resources and prioritizing. So I guess I just want to be clear. I think you do both. You can do the MVP model, which I love, go fast, learn, iterate, but also be thinking the same way. Once I have a customer, what's the best possible experience I can give them? How would you want to be treated if you were your own customer? Build that. Now you can keep going, and then eventually you'll get to a place where it feels like, yes, we're ready to scale this. People love it. We know how to take care of them. And I want to turn the water on all the way.
Okay.
I think two thoughts to add to that. One is the thinking of the MVP also in the Wizard of Oz model, where what they see is still a great product. But if you're still haven't built out all of the full functionality, the back end, and maybe some things are done manually, or there's not ideal internal, to your company team operations, that's all fine, right? Like, the customer doesn't need to know that. But
Mhm.
at scale, that becomes a problem. And that's probably where like our product is right now of it is great, it's working good. But if, you know, New York City School District called me up and said, we're going to come on tomorrow, I would be kind of panicking because we're probably not in a place to have that scale yet. So we're also trying to make sure, you know, like while we're growing rapidly, we're growing carefully to make sure that we can handle whatever scale that we bring on. And I see it as kind of that what we put out into the world works perfectly. They don't need to see the chaos that happens behind the scenes. And we'll build that out and get that to be highly functioning as we grow. But the primary that needs to be delightful is what our customers see in touch.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, so I
Do you
want
have
to
time for,
be, I
do you
want to
have
be
time for another
respectful.
question?
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it, Chris. Yeah,
Are you sure?
go for it.
Yeah, so this is really for both of you, and I appreciate you guys both for being here. It's a lot of great advice, a lot of great information. It's really in regards to, I think, Tarek, you said one time that giving away your product for like the first 10 customers. And so within that, you know, how did you go about that, or you as well, Christine, as far as like when you're in those early stages and you're really trying to focus on, you know, getting to a certain point within the product, you know, obviously that takes resources and time, and so you know where you want to be, but as far as like, you know, that process and getting there, especially too when you're bringing on customers and giving it away, did you go about like as far as I mean, were you self-funded? Did you go find funding? Is there a way, like, I'm just curious to know, like, the steps or the process you guys took and put in place to really try to align that growth with, you know, being able to support it with, you know, different types of funding and within the business.
Yeah, so we, our founder kind of bootstrapped for the first year and a half. She was working full time and doing this on the side and taking anything she was earning on her full time job and just investing it into the product. When she hit the point that she wanted to go full time and make this a real business is when she looked to get an angel funding round. And after the first check cleared, she hired me. And so then we kind of raised the rest of that round. About $1 million was the first tranche of money. We returned for another seed on the same terms, another $1 million about a year after that. And then we're in the process right now of raising the terms are really hard of like, is it a Series A or not, but a light Series A at this stage. So we've been really trying to be cautious about how much we raise for two reasons. One is that the more people you have give you money, the more people you have influencing the direction of your company and having, you know, perspective on where you should be going. And I think that that can sometimes create false senses of urgency or direction. And so we've wanted to have enough, but also grow through revenue because we think that being in control of our own destiny is going to treat us better in the long run. So we've, you know, financing and fundraising is a reality of the business. I think 100% bootstrapping is going to be in really challenging and stifle the business where you're just not going to get enough of that circle turning and growth to get you where you need to go. But our approach has been to be fairly cautious and slow about the fundraising side.
Chris, can you give me a sense of your business and what's your annual contract value look like, or MRR, any metrics around the business?
Sure, absolutely. So we're about 5 years ago, my co-founder and I, we really, it started prior to that when we worked together. We were doing different integrations for really kind of like omni-channel solutions and trying to get, you know, we had retailers that were doing ship from store, pick up in store. And really what it meant is, you know, our whole goal at the time, you know, we started the business was to really kind of take that same kind of concept and get all these different platforms to be able to integrate it almost instantaneously. So these people, these retailers or businesses that wanted the capability to try to, add a marketing solution or get rid of a marketing solution, add an ERP or do whatever, was more of just a click of a button than it would be like, getting tech people involved and business people involved and try to identify what policies and everything, how that need to be applied. So with that being said, it's kind of been a long process in creating that. So that's really the core part of our business is our product solution, which we call Omniplexus. On the flip side of that, to kind of bootstrap it, as Christine said, we do a lot of services for people. So we have a large contract for the state of Indiana, which generates a lot of revenue for us that really kind of bootstraps it for us. So it's been such a blessing for that. But you know what, that's not really where we want to be, I would say. As far as like the subscription, the pricing and all of that, the product, that's where, I'm still going through a couple of different things. We have all of our clients are enterprise clients. And when I say enterprise, that's kind of probably a little bit like what you're doing they're large clients and they are, they're more, it's more catered to them, right? So you're taking data from all of their different e-com platforms to their fulfillment providers, very similar to what we were working with, and they love it. It's great. There's just a lot more we need to do to kind of build it up, at least to make it more of what I would say a self-sign-up subscription kind of model. And so, you've given me some good ideas as far as, onboarding customers and still kind of the same way maybe you're doing it, which is, what, and I'm kind of talking randomly, but, versus, who do we really want our target market to be, right? And who is our target customer? Is it, like one of these example, like a Target or Walmart, which is not that, or is it more of like, a mom and pop shop that we kind of would go after? And so I think we're looking at kind of both of those. So we're like self-sign up, self-subscription, you go in, and it's very intuitive. You go and you kind of identify really like the events that are occurring within your business. And then you associate what systems you're using to be able to do those. And it just integrates them instantaneously. So we are at that point of that being able to do that. But there's still a number of things we have to be able to do to try to get into that self-sign up mode. So I don't know if I answer your question as far as like revenue and all that. So, but yeah, we are bootstrapped, but we don't really want to be in the services industry. We want to just kind of be product focused.
Yeah, I think that's smart, given the valuations of software product companies versus service companies. Yeah. I think anything you can do to get there will be helpful, but there's nothing wrong with having the service revenue support you and basically view that as an early investor. That's how I would view it. And then you can wean off of that as you need. I think the big questions for you would be, who is your target customer? There is a huge difference between Walmart and a mom and pop.
Yeah.
How you think, how you market, how you talk, the type of people you would need to have, because you can't really have your CTO talking to them. They just,
absolutely,
it's a lack of trust. It's a red flag. Where is your information security guy or girl? That's what they're expecting. So anything that is not in line, we will scare them away. And it's a long sales cycle. I'm not saying that couldn't be, because they're way more valuable. I only have to sell a handful of them to meet the same revenue goal versus 10,000 of the mom and pops.
Yeah.
So, but that has to be something from a strategy perspective, I think you guys need to agree on, because it's going to impact all these other decisions that you need to be making. One idea that I heard about, and I'm actually trying now, is this. We're going to design it, we're going to prototype it, and we're going to take it to your target customer. And there's no code behind it at all. You haven't spent a penny to build anything, but we're going to show it to them. And the idea is, would you be willing, if I can deliver this to you, say in a piece of paper, I would be willing to be a customer for an amount of time at this level of revenue. And the only requirement is you actually have to deliver. They don't pay anything until you deliver. There's no risk to them. So if you really have come up with something innovative and you feel like there's value there, you can put it together, you can take it to people, and if they really love it, get them to sign up. And the next thing would be you go out and you've got, let's say, I don't know, 10 or 20 people that have said, I would be willing to be a customer if this was able to be delivered to me. You can go raise money on those signed agreements. Because I, as an investor, see, wow, there's pent up demand for this. They haven't even built anything. And he's got revenue commitments of $2 million. You can go raise against that 2 million without actually having to spend to build anything. So, and again, that's based on who's your target market, which direction are you going, what are you going to charge? But that's a super fast way and inexpensive way to go raise money if that's the path you want to go down.
Yep. And that's kind of what we're thinking as well. Kind of to, a little bit what Christine was mentioning, we really kind of don't want, an investor to change our culture. I mean, we're kind of very proud of, who we are, what we've built and what we stand for. And we don't want that someone else to, come in and redefine that doesn't align with our values. So, that's important to us. So, but yeah, I think we're going to go down the path. I'm talking to Anthony later about this too. It's like, trying to get everything ready to try and maybe find the right investor. But it might be to where, to your point, bring on a few more customers to really try to get that, SaaS revenue up to look much better.
The further you can go on your own,
yeah,
always the better. But this idea, so I'm trying this now. We're getting ready to, because we have a second product in the works. So I'm taking this out. I'm playing around with this idea of an early adopter program. And the benefit to them is no risk. Only if I deliver this to you, you have 1,000 ways to get out. And if I'm only picking one, my strategy is I'm only going to pick one technology company, one healthcare company, one CPG company. So there's some FOMO. Like if you don't want this, that's fine. If you don't have, you're totally fine with keeping your people and the great resignation's not impacting you, cool, I'm happy for you, I'm going to move on. So this is how I'm thinking. And the other benefit to them is if they are that person that agrees to do it, then they can give me one competitor that we can't talk to for 24 months after delivery. So if you really do have a problem with another company stealing your talent, it's like Cisco hates Google because Google's taking their engineers. So if I go to Cisco and say, you sign up, you're the tech company, and I won't talk to Google for 24 months after we deliver this to you. So there's a lot of positive to them. This is all theoretical. So I'm just starting this. We'd have a meeting next month and I could say that was a fucking disaster. Who knows? I don't know. But in my head, this sounds like a great idea.
Yep. No.
The one thing I'll say about revenue and fundraising is that as soon as you have a revenue dollar, they will be looking at your valuation based on your revenue and based on how much you're growing. And like you can talk about theoretical other sources of revenue, but our experience is that once you have that dollar in, they are looking at your current revenue in terms of your valuation. Pre-revenue, you can kind of tell the story that you want to tell. And for very early stage companies, there's still this unfortunate situation with a lot of VCs where I think, small revenue is almost worse than no revenue in terms of fundraising and valuation.
I agree.
Interesting. Okay, great. I think.
Yeah, I don't like it from like a business standpoint because you would think that you would get rewarded for actually selling your product to someone.
Yeah.
But there is sort of this reality standpoint that as soon as you've sold $1, that becomes what your revenue is.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you for that, Christine. Both of you.
Yeah, so yeah, again, going to close it out here, but thank you, Christine and Tarek. Appreciate your time. I mean, this has been tremendous insight into, I mean, a lot of like sales and marketing talk, which I think, you know, our folks really, that's kind of the crux of their challenges. So this has been a really good conversation, and we've got a recording of it, so I'll definitely share that with some of our other, clients that are here at the Alloy Growth Lab. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone for coming out for the event, and I appreciate it. And
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Yep.
You're welcome. This was great.
Thanks.
Great questions, great conversation. Anthony, thanks for organizing.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thanks
again,
for having
everyone.
us, and feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. Always happy to have a conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone.
Appreciate it,
Take care. Have a great day.